Hey y'all, welcome back to the breakdown. I am your host, De La Clem de La. This is the De La Clem de La channel, and this is the breakdown show. And in one of the most recent videos I posted, I showed you some body language from Andrew Holmes and body language from Stanley Brown, body language from Tiffany Henyard in a regular board meeting from the Village of Dolton channel. That board meeting was on June 5th, 2023, according to the title of the video. Now, I want to go back and watch the rest of that meeting. I did go do some research. I wanted to see Andrew Holmes' conversation, his stature, the way he interacted with the group prior to June 5th, because May 26, 2023 is when he allegedly raped a staff member of the Village of Dolton, drugged and raped, allegedly. It has been confirmed that he is the person in question. I was suspicious last night that he was the one, and it has been confirmed that he is the one in question, the one she called uncle, the one she went to dinner with, and she started feeling a little woozy after dinner and woke up in his hotel room in discomfort, in pain and discomfort. So apparently Andrew Holmes is the one who allegedly called Officer Miles, who was also in Las Vegas, and switched the conversation over to FaceTime so Officer Miles could see the staff member, the female staff member, in his bed, unconscious. And it was apparently and allegedly Andrew Holmes who let Officer Miles know that he had sex with the woman unprotected, and that she most likely did not consent, according to the words spoken by Officer Miles. So, it's if have you ever seen somebody you just couldn't stand and you didn't know why, and then you found out later exactly why? I'm telling you, I have had my eye on Andrew Holmes since I became introduced to his cringiness. He reminds me of that uncle. Okay? He reminds me of that uncle, and he has. And now to know that Kiana Belcher, Trustee Kiana Belcher, has had to sit beside him all these years is disgusting. It's gross. Who knows what situation Tiffany Henyard placed the other women on this board in, because they weren't aware that they were sitting next to a rapist. Who knows what situation Justin House, Trustee Jason House, was placed in, because he didn't know he was sitting next to a rapist and sharing a board and sharing decisions with a rapist who's over the police committee. I only thought Andrew Holmes was helping the drug dealers find safer places to sell their drugs by giving them hints on where to go. I won't repeat what he said. But I definitely can see him in this light, and it's unfortunate. Now, what I wanted to do was, I originally went back and looked at the conversations that Andrew Holmes contributed to right leading up to this meeting on June 5th. On March the 6th, he was lively. He was involved in the conversation. He gave a long speech about nothing. And then in the beginning of May, when they had their May meeting, he wasn't there. This was right before the May 26th incident in Las Vegas involving him, some drugs, and a Village of Dolton staff member, and later on involving Tiffany Henyard as well, because she was made aware of the situation. So I noticed that on this meeting, June 5th, 2023, which was the first meeting he appeared at after the incident on May 26th, there were no comments from Andrew Holmes. He was quiet the whole meeting. We'll see it. That's not the purpose of us watching this video together. We're going to take note of some other things and the ways in which the Dolton trustees have had to handle Tiffany Henyard, and I'm so proud of them. I want to highlight that here. But let's keep our second eye on Andrew Holmes and how quiet he is, how he slumps in his seat, how he doesn't get involved in conversation, and even how there is no report that night from the police. I believe that night, if I do remember correctly, we'll have to. No. In this meeting, there was no report. In the meeting after this one, the police chief gives the report. Police Chief Collins. After the engineer's report, it goes straight to, it's usually Andrew Holmes' report. Oh, the ducks are coming back. Yay. Y'all know I'm easily distracted by nature. In this particular meeting we see tonight, Andrew Holmes doesn't say much. In the very next meeting, he's not allowed to give his police report. I don't know when it picked back up again that he gave it. I'll follow those footprints. But it's interesting. It's obvious that Tiffany Henyard is well aware of what's going on because she pulls him out. In the meeting right before this, he wasn't there. Maybe because he was getting ready for the Vegas trip. Because I believe the meeting right before this was before the Vegas trip. Then this was the next meeting. I'm just tracking the pattern, just tracking the footsteps of the situation. So in this meeting, he don't say nothing. There is no report. The next meeting, the police give the police report, and they talk about how many tickets were issued and that sort of thing, which Andrew Holmes never, ever gives a report about anyway. But Andrew Holmes at this time is supposed to be giving the report because at this particular time, the chairs still give their own reports. We'll see. So let's go ahead and continue to watch this. I want to pick this up from after the swearing in where we saw Andrew Holmes be all weird and out of touch with everybody and hurry up and go sit back down after he sat with his hands behind his back the whole time and Tiffany hardly spoke to him. And I want us to go into the rest of this conversation where we get to hear Stanley Brown read more numbers. Unfortunately, they get higher and higher and worse and worse. We already realized early in this meeting that Tiffany Henyard can't read, but the way that Trustee Jason House and Trustee Kiana Belcher in particular handle Tiffany Henyard in this meeting is very poignant, very important. I love what they did. I love what they had to do. I know it wasn't something they ever thought they'd have to do, but you can tell that they're ready for it. And I also want to make mention that there is a moment here in this meeting where Tiffany Henyard has an opportunity to show her human side and connect with Trustee Tammy Brown, and she neglects that opportunity to show love, to love on somebody, to give love to the people. She neglects that opportunity because she's cold and she's heartless. So what we're going to watch is just the last part of this 4-hour meeting. And I'm going to give my commentary and pause it along the way. And again, this is being used according to fair use, so don't come at me. I know the laws. Here we go.
$1,075. And we also had 4 plumbing permits at $11,074.48. We're still waiting to come in for the business license total. So we know that number will go up. So a total revenue earned for both departments at this point is $187,638.73.
And before he gets real corny, because you know he always does, let me remind you that this is William, don't pray for me no more. This is who Trustee Jason House was speaking to when he said, you started this meeting praying on unity, and then you gave the most divisive speech ever. Don't pray for me no more. This is who he was talking about, William Moore.
Mayor, that concludes my report. And ain't no stopping us now.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Next
Mayor, can I be recognized for a moment?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and this, because I don't see on the committee department reports, the finance report, there's some questions I have, because I know we mentioned some of the positive things, and I appreciate that with the ARPA fund. I'm looking at...
Hold on. Trustee, we're not there. They still giving their reports. We're finna get to corporate bills. We're not there. We're under their reports.
Corporate bills. Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, thank you. All right, Kim, code enforcement, Kim Austin.
All right. Thank you, Super Mayor.
Use your mic.
I will keep my comments to myself about Kim's hair and her probable drunkenness and her need for a fix. I'm gonna keep that to myself.
Code enforcement wrote 234 tickets, totaling $26,950. That ends my report.
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda is corporate bills. Trustee Stan Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. AP warrant list electronic for April the 30th, 2023. Corporate payments, $182,241.29. Water funds, $311,344.43. Sewer fund, $1,215.01. American Rescue Plan, $35,134.45. Melanie Fitness Center, $314.70. Comes to a total corporate payments of $530,249.88. We get a motion to accept the payment as read.
Is there a motion?
A motion.
Is there a second?
A second.
It's been a motion and second. Any discussion?
Yes, Mayor, if I could be recognized.
Go ahead.
Okay. In particular on this, because we mentioned the water fund and sewer fund. So I know we heard the description of there being no deficits, and I'm good. The ARPA funds are. When I'm looking at the same financial report, and somebody please let me know if I'm off, and if I am, what the total is. General fund and the financial report on page 15 has a deficit $2,423,769. Water fund, which is on this warrant list, page 18, deficit $434,001. Sewer fund, page 21 of the financial, deficit.
Now, this is June of 2023, and we're already talking about over $2 million in deficits. So I want to make mention of that, Tangenique Miller.
$686,392. Melanie Fitness Center, which we know is inoperable, so we'll have a deficit $85,395. I bring this up because the general fund ends up subsidizing that. Total of those funds, and these are the day-to-day operating funds. So the tax money that does go, the property tax money, sales tax money, goes into the general fund. Those are the funds that I'm seeing deficits. If I'm incorrect, please correct me and provide the dollar amount. Thank you.
And let me mention something too before I forget. So I have been doing some research trying to, as effortlessly as possible, confirm the undergraduate and graduate degree for Tangenique Miller. And, you know, it's interesting because I have not been able to find anything except her words on the Village of Dolton website that mention her prior education and her prior work experience. Now, what's also interesting is that as I've done my research, I was able to find someone else in Chicago who lists very similar background in education and work experience. And her name is Audrenique Miller. She was also an accountant at Cook County, and she also worked for the Federal Reserve. But her name is Audrenique Miller. She lives in Chicago. She's also got an MBA. And it's very interesting. Isn't that interesting? Let's continue.
Okay, so I don't have that in front of me. I just asked her for it. So what we will do is respond to you in writing about what you're saying as relates to a deficit, because we don't have a deficit, but I will wait until she responds. Tangenique will respond to you, so we'll move forward just for sake of time. So yeah.
So I hope you heard that. This is June 5th, 2023, and Tiffany Henyard is saying there is no deficit. Today is March 12th, 2024. And Tiffany Henyard is admitting to a $2 million deficit. Two things can't be true at the same time in this moment. I'm sorry. Because how does the deficit go from 0 in June to 2 million in March? Really, Tiffany? if there was no deficit in June, how the fuck is there a $2 million deficit in March? And we see here Jason House, who is much more credible of a reader. He can read numbers much better than Tiffany Henyard and Stanley Brown combined. He's given us specific numbers down to the penny on these deficits. He's looking at numbers that she doesn't have in front of her as the mayor. So who do we believe? And even if she's right, where does that $2 million come from in just these short number of months? This was June 5th, 2023. So where does such a deficit come from in such a short amount of time, Tiffany Henyard? And if it was $2 million then, according to what Trustee Jason House read, what the fuck is it now? It's even more now. I believe as of September, it was around $7 million. Let's go.
I can move forward with the vote.
Okay, and I do have one additional, just a clarifying question too, because I'm for approving these bills. I just want to ask somebody to have on record, do we have all the receipts for any credit card purchases?
We do.
Thank you very much.
All right. So any more discussion? Okay, call the roll, please. And then make sure y'all get back to him about that deficit.
Now, here's the mistake that the Board of Trustees has continued to make leading up to this meeting, believing what Tiffany Henyard and her administration said. When Keith Freeman was brought in, he was brought in and voted for, and yeah, we're going to get you a background check on him. Background check still hasn't happened. Too many times it's been told, and Trustee Brittany Norwood pointed it out, too many times it's been told, we'll get you a receipt, just vote for it. And then no receipt comes, no invoice comes, no information comes, no answer to an email comes. So they just get played over and over again. And you see here, he asks the question. He says, I'm all for voting for the bills, but do we have the receipts for the credit cards? She says, yes, we do. She said it. Now, didn't she tell old boy she ain't got nothing to do with credit cards as it pertains to credit cards and such? But she knows that they have the receipts for these credit cards. And I'd like to ask the Dolton trustees today, on May 12, 2024, have you seen those receipts?
Wait, excuse me. Is this what any amendments? I'm sorry? Is this one what any amendments?
We can't hear you. What you asked?
Okay.
Trustee.
Never mind.
Now, it's crazy that Trustee Brittany Norwood has to feel like she has to secretly ask the clerk Allison Key, for clarification on what she's voting for, because she knows that if Tiffany Henyard finds out that she's a little confused or a little off track, she's going to publicly berate her in front of everybody for not knowing exactly what's going on, because there's been some conversation that's happened since the motion. So she has to whisper to Clerk Allison Key, because such a hostile environment has been created, such an abusive environment, that she has to whisper, is this one with amendments? And Clerk Key, in protection of her, says, no, you good, just vote. And Tiffany is demanding to know what it is, because she wants this opportunity to berate her. Now let's see if she berates Stanley Brown when he don't know what the fuck is going on. Let's go.
Okay. All right, go ahead, call the roll.
Trustee Norwood?
No.
Trustee Stan Brown?
Yes.
Trustee Tammy?
Yes.
Trustee House?
Yes.
Trustee Holmes?
Aye.
Trustee Belcher?
Aye.
Motion passed.
All right, next. Go ahead.
I'd like to
Stan.
continue.
Yep, continue. My bad. Go ahead.
Reading the warrant.
Y'all listen close.
AP warrant list final for June the 5th, 2023. Corporate payments, $2,964,822. $2,964,000.
Y'all, this was in 2023. June 5th, 2023. We have seen this man have trouble reading words for over a year. And I hope he realizes that the reason these words are so hard to read is because the administration is spending so much more money over and abundantly, exceedingly. Those are words Christians use a lot when they talk about God. They ain't using these words to talk about managing a budget, though. Exceedingly, over and abundantly, surpassing. Every single month, they spend more and more money. So these numbers get harder and harder to read. And Trustee Stan Brown, with all due respect, because I know you be in my comments, because you say the same shit in my comments that you say over the microphone. I see it now. You know, y'all don't change words. You can't talk different here than you talk there. You gonna say the same old dumb shit, sir. It's so obvious. But since you listening, I hope you realize they're making a fool out of you, sir. I hope you realize that they purposely chose a meager postman who did not have the ability to do this job to do it. Sir, I hope you realize that you're a fall guy, sir. I hope you realize that it's their spending and their lack of responsibility while we're laughing at you for not knowing how to read numbers, sir.
822 payments.
No, we gonna
$2,964,822.
What?
AP1 list final for June the 5th, 2023. Corporate payments, $2,964,822. $2,964,822.93.
I am so fucked up that they laughed about it. Because that is a teachable moment, if there is one. Here's the moment when you say, why is this person in this position when they can't even read numbers? Mayor, administrator, finance director, why HR administrator, because you writing checks too. Why is this person in this role? And that's why in the most recent meeting that lady asked, Stan Brown, I'd like to ask you, what is your role? What do you consider your role to be here?
Gross payroll for May the 5th, 2023, $480,776.80. Gross payroll for May the 19th, $459,712.36. Melanie Fitness Center, $44,723.93.
Now, I want us to pay attention to this Melanie Fitness Center conversation that's about to happen. And when we do, I want to remind you of the conversation that we looked at from 2021, or maybe, I believe it was 2021, 2022, when Trustee Tammy Brown and Trustee Brittany Norwood were trying to put the Melanie Fitness Center building up for sale. And Tiffany Henyard was trying to block the sale of the building. And I said, she's going to try to block the sale of that building and then blame it on the trustees later on when there's a loss of money. Watch.
Total corporate payment of $3,950,036.02. The motion to accept that report is read.
All right, you're motioning?
A motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there a motion and second? Any discussion?
Watch this.
Yes, Mayor, if I could be recognized.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, there are 5 items that I'm suggesting removal of, so I will not be voting on this as is presented, but I would like to make an amended motion if this motion.
And let me make this mention before Trustee Jason House continues his speech. We talk a little bit on this channel about personality and psychology and energy. And one thing it's important to know is that narcissistic people feed off of other people's energy, whether that's happiness, joy, fear, shame, whatever. And they love the evidence that a person has a certain unusual energy. You know how we say dogs feed off of your fear? Well, Tiffany Henyard is actually rather enjoying hearing Trustee Jason House tremble. And it was something that my father taught me when I was little, because he was quite sadistic and narcissistic himself. So he taught me how to deal. He taught me how to stand up in the face of a narcissist. He told me you got to be like a duck underwater. He said no matter how nervous you are, no matter how angry you are, no matter how scared you are, you hold your tone. You don't allow your voice to tremble. When my father would catch me doing something wrong or whatever, he would make me tell him what I did, and he would make me say it in words that sound just like I'm speaking to you now. And my father taught me that when a person puts you in a position to make you feel uncomfortable, the last thing you do is show it. So when I was a little girl, I had to know, I literally had to not cry when I got a whooping. To the point that my parents got confused, because that's what they taught me. You don't flinch, you don't move. When you are in this uncomfortable, dangerous, abusive, narcissistic, sadistic, terrifying situation, you better shut up and not say a word. And if you speak, it better be with strength, it better be with confidence. It better be with knowing whether you know it or not. And I would encourage the board to get Reiki massage, y'all. Y'all got to start dealing with your energy, because she is enjoying when you talk in trembles. She's enjoying when you lose your temper and you yell. She loves it. You got to look at her face when you do it. When you are angry, and when you are upset, and when you are frustrated, and when you are telling her, this isn't fair, don't do this to us. She loves it. I'm telling you. It's the energy that she needs. It's directed at her. That's why she didn't start her podcast, because none of us were going to line up to get her and give her our energy. She knew that the average person would rather hear what she had to say from me or somebody else before they go to her and sit at her feet. That's why she put the trustees down on the floor, because she needs them to be at her feet. I guarantee you, Trustee Jason House, if you speak more confidently, you'll get a whole lot more done. My love to you, my respect to you, my feedback to you. This woman is enjoying watching you guys tremble. I lived in a country where fear was food for the leaders. And they would put people in situations where they would be fearful, knowing there was nothing to be afraid of. And I was pulled into offices and I was told, we don't like your attitude. And I literally had a conversation with a leader and said, I understand that I'm a dignified Negro and that you want me to feel intimidated and bow to you, but that's not the way my country raised me. Anyway, y'all, let's get back to this. Trustee Jason House, stop flinching when you talk to this woman. Stop tremoring. Open your mouth and speak. Say it with your motherfucking chest. That's all I got to say.
Unsuccessful. Thank you.
Okay, so we under discussion right now. So if you want to put those on record, that way people can clear up whatever it is that you got, and then maybe you change your mind.
Okay, these items have already actually been discussed with Trustee Stan Brown and some other board members. So we've had discussion, and I'm still not in favor. I want to make the amended motion, and at the time I make the amended motion, I will read them into record.
Trustee, so we will know. You could tell us what they are. So what are the 5 items that you want to remove?
Mayor, I will tell you when I make the amended motion.
Trustee.
Amended motion, I will read them into record.
Trustee, so we will know. You could tell us what they are. So what are the 5 items that you want to remove?
Mayor, I will tell you when I make the amended motion.
Trustee.
It's her goal to bypass process, procedure. It's her goal to create a way of things for herself. What Trustee Jason House wants to do is the proper way to do things. If we were in a parliamentary session full of white people, that's exactly what we would do. Ain't no need to argue and go back and forth about it. I'll read it into the record if the motion is unsuccessful.
If you don't put on record, we're going to call the roll. Simple as that. Call the roll, clerk. Call the roll. And then you make your motion the way you want, because you don't run the show. I ask you to tell us what they are so we can get some clarity to it so the public would know. But you want to have it your way. So call the roll.
It's interesting to me at all times how narcissists throw temper tantrums and lose all respect when they don't get what they want. Ooh. See, at some point in her childhood, she did things like this, and in a very outspoken, violent way. And nobody grabbed her by her hair and set her down and told her that I don't care how mad you get, you can't be disrespectful. I don't care how mad you get, you can't be angry and violent. I don't care how mad you get. You have to maintain some self-control in how you deal with people, some decorum and some respect. Because she can't even be nice when she's trying to be manipulative.
On what they just motioned on clerk. They just motioned to pay the bills. You got to pay attention. You're supposed to be writing it down. Okay, but that's what you call the row on.
You guys are going back and forth. I need clarity.
Okay, well that's clarity then. Please call the row. Thank you.
Now that'll be the second time she bullied somebody for not being on point and knowing where things were. But I want to mention one more time because that's my job. I want to see if she keeps up the same habit when Stan Brown don't know what the fuck he's on.
Trustee Norwood.
No.
Trustee Stan Brown.
Yes.
Trustee Tammy Brown.
No.
Trustee House.
No.
Trustee Holmes.
Yes.
Trustee Belcher.
No.
Motion failed.
Okay, so what I want to point out to you residents is, you see how they know what the items are, but we don't know what they want to take out? That's what I want to point out to you. That's why I said call the row.
So I would
Because
like
they-
to make an
hold on.
amended motion.
Hold on, trustee. I can give you the floor. I'm pointing that out because this is what we deal with. Because I wanted to know what they were, and we could clear up whatever you feel is wrong. So he already made his mind up, say he wants to change in his mind, and you got everybody up here to clear up whatever the mess is. So go ahead, trustee.
Okay, I would motion that we approve the bills as read, removing the following items. Country Lane gazebos, $90,000 on page 6.
Now, let me just mention what some of these things are, because this was June 5th, 2023. As of February 14th, 2024, I have learned quite a bit on what some of these items are. Those $90,000 gazebos were the bubbles, and the gazebos that are at the ice skating rink. Now, remember, the ice skating rink is a Tiffany Henyard pet project. The ice skating rink is called Just Ice by Super Mayor Tiffany Henyard. Nowhere on that property is mentioned the Village of Dolton. There is a Village of Dolton police officer manned to guard it, but it's only open and available to residents when Tiffany Henyard is present. That is her personal property that she has stolen from the Village of Dolton and is sneaking in bills for the Village of Dolton to pay for it. Now, you will hear Tangenique say that those gazebos are covered under a grant, but that grant is not for Tiffany Henyard's pet projects.
DL3 Sons Property, $192,400, page 7.
What is that?
DL3 Sons Property, amount $192,400. That's on page 7. Fioretti Campbell Law Group, $32,924.70 on page 9.
Now, let me stop you for a second, because in the last meeting, Tiffany Henyard said, what lawyer can get their board to vote bills and get their bills paid? And Trustee Kiana Belcher said, the one sitting right next to you. Well, that $32,000 bill you heard was for the one sitting next to Tiffany Henyard. That is her prosecutorial attorney, who is operating and acting as a corporate attorney when you see him say good job to her when she tries to get people to get rid of their own attorney, and he says good job. He's operating as a corporate attorney in that moment. Why would he care? He's a prosecutorial attorney. He shouldn't give a fuck about the legislative attorney. It shouldn't even be in his wheelhouse to care. But the man is operating as a corporate attorney because he's whispering to her and whispering to Keith Freeman and whispering to Tangenique Miller during the whole meeting. And I'm pretty sure those conversations should be open to the Open Meetings Act 1, 2, 3, and 4. But that $32,000 bill is Tiffany Henyard's attorney in June of 2023 that she was trying to get the board to pay, get the Village of Dolton to pay.
5 Star, $32,935 on page 12.
Now that $1.3 million bill for 5-star, about $850,000 of that money is for, drum roll please, the ice skating rink. Some of that money, a very small amount of that money, about $250,000, $300,000, was for work that 5-star did during water main breaks and some previous bills that he presented to Mayor Riley, and Mayor Riley also rejected. From what I understand, the man charges egregiously. But Tiffany Henyard brought him in to do the ice skating rink, $850,000. To this date, March 12, 2024, the ice skating rink has brought in absolutely not one dime. As of the last interview from Trustee Kiana Belcher a couple nights ago, I think the channel, I want to make sure I say it, but I don't want to say it wrong. I believe the channel is called, excuse me, Late Night TV. That's what rings in my head. It's a real cool channel. He's funny as fuck too. He does some of the same similar stuff. Goes back and looks at some videos. I love what he fucking calls out. He called out this doggone guy that Tiffany sent. Actually, the guy in the trustee in the Thornton Township election video in the green hat. That was one of Tiffany's boyfriends, and Tiffany sent him to disrupt a Dolton meeting that was outside the village, in the parking lot. And the man that has the channel that I mentioned, Late Night TV, was watching a video where that man was at the meeting just being an ass, and there was a man in slides and a suit. And I'm done, and that's where I'm gonna leave that. So anyway, I believe that was Trustee Kiana Belcher's most recent interview, and she mentioned in that interview what I said. So let's continue.
And White Co Pool Solutions, $44,192.50 on page 23. So that's my motion.
And White Co Pool Solutions is the company that's going to charge $88,000. 30, I think 44 of it is a deposit, and then the other 44 is going to be paid at the back end. They're supposed to be doing the repair of the pool. Now, again, I said the trustees, Kiana and Tammy, trustees Norwood and Brown, Tammy Brown, were trying to sell Melanie Fitness Center before there was a deficit, so that the village would have the revenue from it. And Tiffany Henyard was doing everything she could to block it. She was doing every single thing she could to block that sale. She eventually did. Now, when Tiffany Henyard was trustee, she actually motioned an ordinance and got it passed. The only thing she's ever done in her whole career, that there would be no adult pool parties at the Melanie Fitness Center. In 2016, the same year she broke into that car, she motioned that there would be no adult swim parties. So obviously there wasn't going to be any revenue coming into the Melanie Fitness Center from adult pool parties, because she already passed that motion, and it was, for perpetuity. So this was the thing she kept saying, that adults would have, the seniors would have aerobics classes, and the kids would be able to swim in the summer at the pool. Well, at this point, the trustees know that she's running her pet projects through Village of Dolton money, and that nothing she starts is finished. Nothing she starts actually benefits the village. Nothing she does actually gives revenue to the village. And somewhere in this meeting as well, she actually mentions a backyard barbecue that she has and calls it My Backyard Barbecue. But the bills were funneled through the Village of Dolton. She paid for it without approval from the board.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, the motion is second. Any discussion?
Yes, Mayor, I have a comment as well. On this item, there was also questions asked about questions or statements provided via email. The email was addressed to village administrator, finance director, as well as trustee Stan Brown, just seeking some clarification. As of this moment, I had not received a response.
from these items?
Yeah. Well, there were these items. There were several other items on the list as well, but these were included.
Okay, so that's why I asked you to give us whatever you speaking of so we can answer them. So I'm gonna give it to the finance director so she can answer the questions. I don't understand why you four trustees think it's okay to constantly not open the pool up for the kids. But residents, I'm gonna let you know now, we gonna open that pool. I'm gonna get it fixed and we gonna open that pool. We not gonna miss the summer.
Regardless of whether or not the board approves the payments, I'm either going to steal the money from the village of Dolton and write checks that I have no approval to write, or have Janice Johnson do it since she's on the checking account. Or I'm going to have vendors come out and do work and promise to pay them and they'll never get paid. But either way, I'm going to shine because I just got a BBL and I need people to see my new body. So that pool has to be open this summer.
We ain't missing the summer for them kids not to swim because y'all mad about whatever you mad about. We was wasting them money. When I say we, meaning them, they approved it to pay for Melly's to stay open when we was in a deficit when Melly's was open. Remember? And then we closed it. So here it is. We got a pool that we still got to manage no matter what they saying. It's still money being spent. Why not let the people, the kids, benefit from it? Why not let the seniors have water aerobics? Why? This is what I'm talking about. See, that's the stuff that I know y'all want because they doing it everywhere else. These are my issues, but I just want to point that pool out because we gonna fix it. I ain't never seen nobody against kids and seniors getting aerobics and stuff in the water. Ever saw that? 5-star. I've spoken on that before. You guys keep on taking 5-star. I told y'all this at the last meeting when all of a sudden y'all came up with some kind of reason why y'all didn't want them. If y'all have a reason and y'all don't want somebody, reach out, which I think that person reached out to y'all. And if y'all have a problem with any invoices, I told you last meeting, take it out. Don't.
So what she's telling them is if you don't like an invoice I submit, you need to call us and tell us why. Well, there is a committee of the whole meeting that's supposed to happen on the third Monday of every month in which RFPs, proposals, bids, requisitions, invoices, bills, all that stuff is discussed at length. But when you keep canceling that meeting, which you can see just by looking at the Village of Dolton's YouTube page, you can see by looking at their website, the meeting minutes are not for the first and third Monday of every month. And you can see by looking at their YouTube channel that they only have a meeting once a month, the first of every month. Well, she's telling them, she's gaslighting them and saying, reach out to me if you don't like something. But she's also canceling the meeting where they're supposed to discuss it ad nauseum.
Don't have me accountable for things that I know nothing about when y'all sat on the board, certain ones, when Riley was here for the bills that the man's speaking of. But you guys voted, you four, you voted and said for him to do the Public Works Department.
Now, I'm going to interrupt for a second because I can't stand listening to her. But I want to make something make sense real quick. I want to connect a couple dots before we get to the point because they do a lot of talking, so it can be exhausting. And that's the point. They want to exhaust the board to where they just be like, whatever. That's what they're trying to do, literally. But I want to mention here that the staff, the administration gets offended when they're accused of being prepped on what to say for these meetings. But what Tiffany Henyard is saying right now, coupled with what Tangenique Miller is going to say in a few moments, coupled with what Keith Freeman is going to say a few moments after that, is going to let you know that not only did they get the email Jason House sent, they reviewed it, they discussed it, they met about it, and they prepped for this conversation. I'm going to go back and let her say what she's saying, and I'm going to let you guys see the sequence. And you can see them kind of ping-pong off of each other as though they know what each other is going to say.
So here it is. We got a pool that we still got to manage no matter what they saying. It's still money being spent. Why not let the people, the kids, benefit from it? Why not let the seniors have water aerobics? Why? This is what I'm talking about. See, that's the stuff that I know y'all want because they doing it everywhere else. These are my issues, but I just want to point that pool out because we gonna fix it. I ain't never seen nobody against kids and seniors getting aerobics and stuff in the water. Ever saw that? 5-star. I've spoken on that before. You guys keep on taking 5-star. I told y'all this at the last meeting where all of a sudden y'all came up with some kind of reason why y'all didn't want them. If y'all have a reason and y'all don't want somebody, reach out, which I think that person reached out to y'all. And if y'all have a problem with any invoices, I told you last meeting, take it out. Don't have me accountable for things that I know nothing about when y'all sat on the board, certain ones, when Riley was here for the bills that the man's speaking of. But you guys voted, you four. You voted and said for him to do the public works department, to do the firehouse, and to do the police department. So when y'all voted for him to pour the concrete, how dare y'all not pay that me? That's what it said. It's like your word means nothing to nobody. And then y'all just want to hold people up because you have votes. That's not right. That person still has a family to feed. Now, as it relates to the $32K for the lawyer, that's a lawyer that represented the village. Once again, y'all always have us out in the open because y'all don't want to pay the people, but y'all fight hard for y'all legislative council, don't y'all? Y'all fight hard for him to put y'all things in order, right? That's what is a shame at. But y'all not doing nothing for the people, nothing. So why aren't y'all making up ordinances that help the people? But everything y'all make up is to benefit you guys yourselves. That's a shame. And then the DL3 and Sons, let you speak on it. But y'all do know EPA was out here, and y'all know about all that, and people gotta haul away the dirt. But again, y'all don't ask no questions. Y'all just make decisions, and at the end of the day, we're not gonna get cited. My job is to protect the village, period. All right, go ahead, Tangier.
So speaking of the email that was sent at 12:23 a.m. Regarding items that were pulled off the warrant list in April, we could have been addressed before early this morning if they were really in question. However, Country Lane gazebos is one that will be covered by the ARPA funds. There was $1 million budgeted in the ARPA funds on in Fund 45, page 16, under other professional services. So they were budgeted, and those were funds that was an item under ARPA. The budget that you manipulated and posted so you would know that that money was funded.
Yep.
The next item is the DL3 properties. Superintendent Stacy left. He would have spoke more on the EPA item, but those are related to cleanup.
Yes.
The Fioretta Campbell, again, that's related to expenses we have incurred, like Odelson, which was not budgeted for, as you say. Yep. If we're going to pay one, we should be paying the other. The other question you have one here is 5-star. So my question is, which invoices is the board willing to pay? For the status of the old invoices, I was not here at that time. From what I'm aware of, you were actually on the board, so you probably can speak to the status of those invoices better than I can. As far as Orland Park Cyclery, that is a state forfeiture expense from PD.
Yeah, it's the pool.
That is on your email.
Yeah,
so I'm just addressing the email that you sent out that you said wasn't addressed, and I will send this response to you by email in the morning. As far as Orland Park Cyclery, that is state forfeiture money. That fund is reported in the cash balances on the financial statements. There is money to cover that. That is not general fund. So I don't know why that was moved. If you want Chief Collins to follow up more about why they need that fund, that expense, that's fine, but you did remove that as well. That's in the email.
Finance director, can you go to the pool next?
Yep.
That'll be the
last
last
one. That is definitely in the email that was sent at 12:22. You all can FOIA it, as you say.
Yep. Okay, can she finish, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, we're gonna discuss it now.
Right.
So the next one is Whiteco. That's the pool, right?
Yep.
The item is a deposit. Total cost is quoted at $88,000. The building is closed, but like any vacant property, the building must be maintained and serviced. There was an estimated amount of $35,000 included in the budget. See page 23, 60-00549, other professional services. However, as you know, a budget is an estimate of expenses and income for a specific period. Estimates are often based on historical data, like prior year's actual costs. When unavailable, like in this case, guesstimates are used, and we guesstimated under.
All right, so that
There's
explains.
several other, I can address those too, but.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, may I comment?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so while we have that out, I just reported on general fund and I gave the page numbers. Since we got time, can we get those figures on these deficits? General fund, page 15.
I just
2.4
explained
million.
that. I just explained that
Oh,
to
we
you.
don't have
And
time for
again,
that.
you could have gave me those emails in
Thank you. My
advance.
point was
'Cause we
made.
did
Thank you.
request that you give us the documentation in advance so I can have an answer prepared.
Correct.
So I do not have that information in front of me, but I will be willing to prepare that for you as well.
Yep. Which we already told him that, but he want to be funny. So we will check that later. So there you have it, residents. I want to put out that on the record as it.
I mean, what was professional about that interaction from those two ladies? That is shameful. That is not a professional way to conduct yourself when discussing the finances of a village. That was so hood and bully and playground and high school and thug and disrespectful and project. Oh.
To what's budgeted for, and just so y'all understand what a budget is. Once the board votes for a budget, it's already approved. Anybody that work in government or work for any organization, when they approve your budget, it is approved. That means you have, say, I use example, say you over youth and family services, right? And they budget you $100,000. You have $100,000 to spend for the year for that youth and family services that the board already voted for. You should not have to come to the board every single time you want to buy a pen, a paper, a ball for the kids. It does not work like that. Think about county. $1 billion budget. They don't go back for every little thing. And let me explain to y'all the difference of what we have and maybe what others have. We have a warrant list. Warrant list. Keith, explain to them the difference of a warrant.
Now, before she goes into allowing Keith to read this overly verbose explanation because he really don't know and because he trying to be smart and he trying to be cute, but he built like his mama, I want to go back to what she just said. Like, she literally thinks that because there's $1 billion budget that nobody should question what's being spent and on what.
Kids, it does not work. The family services, right? And they budget you $100,000. You have $100,000 to spend for the year for that youth and family services that the board already voted for. You should not have to come to the board every single time you want to buy a pen, a paper, a ball for the kids. It does not work like that. Think about.
But actually, that's exactly how it does work. So imagine this and keep this in mind. You ain't even got to imagine. Her boyfriend is the director of youth services in the village of Dolton, the department she just mentioned. He gets paid $100,000 a year, but he also has his own budget. She's advising her boyfriend that he can spend money on whatever he wants and shouldn't have to be answering to anybody about it. He shouldn't be questioned because he's got the budget. That's the person she lives with. That's the person she calls her daughter's father figure. So how many incomes does she have access to?
County. $1 billion budget. They don't go back for every little thing. And let me explain to y'all the difference of what we have and maybe what others have. We have a warrant list. Warrant list. Keith, explain to them the difference of a warrant list and a bill list. So you guys
Now, if Keith had not been prepped for this meeting, how would he be ready to say all of this?
Saying why we going through this? Because a warrant list is bills that's already paid for. Paid. A bills list is you have to approve it to get it paid. But go ahead, Keith. I'm sorry. I took your thunder. Go ahead.
Sorry about that, Mayor. According to 65 ILCS 5-1.3-35-45 from Chapter 24, Paragraph 3.1-35-45, I'll send you guys a copy of this. Thank you, Trustee House, for not sending me a copy of the quote-unquote deficit. The treasurer's report at the end of the month and often are required by the corporate authorities. The municipal treasurer shall render an account under oath to the corporate authorities or an officer designated by ordinance, showing the state of the treasury at the date of the account and the balance of the money in the treasury. The treasurer shall accompany the account with a statement of all money received into the treasury on what account, together with all warrants redeemed and paid by the treasurer. On the day the treasurer renders the account, these warrants, which are again bills that are paid, with all vouchers held by the treasurer, shall be delivered to the municipal clerk and filed. Together with the account in the clerk's office, all paid warrants, again paid bills, shall be filed together into the account.
Let me give you a break from this bullshit and remind you that in the most recent meeting on March 4th, 2024, Stan Brown said, I think we should pay all the bills. And Trustee Kiana Belcher was like, Trustee Stan Brown, these bills have already been paid. The reason for this conversation is because we need to put on the record that these bills have been paid without the board's approval. So the fact that a year ago, or 6 months ago, almost a year ago, this whole conversation happened, and all this breath and time was taken because Keith was prepped to say these things, because Tiffany knew she could never have read this statement. Okay? There's no way she could have read this statement on her own. You see, Keith Freeman is self-soothing while he's trying to read it. He's showing anxious behaviors while he's trying to read it, because they don't know what the hell they talking about. But the fact that they're even having this conversation, and they haven't connected with the other side of government that says, but this conversation has to happen as a checks and balances to put into record that you guys paid these bills without approval, is beyond me.
The treasurer shall keep register of all warrants that are bills that are paid, by the way, which shall be described in each warrant, again, that are bills that are paid, showing its date, the amount, the number from the fund in which it was paid, and the name of the person who paid and when it was paid. That is the definition of a warrant list. What you are asking for is a bill list. By definition, is not the form of government we have. But I don't want to go too far into that, Trustee House, because I know you're not prepared. I'll send that to you next time you send the next thing to me. Thank you, sir.
He's such an ass.
All right. So moving forward, go ahead. Call the roll.
Trustee Norwood.
Aye.
Trustee Stan Brown. Trustee Stan Brown.
Now see, Stan Brown just asked, what we doing? Cause he don't know what the fuck. He don't know. Now let's see if his fair queen, Trustee Tiffany Henyard, berates him, throws him over the coals and under the bus, castigates him. Do you know what that means, Tiffany? Let's see if she does this to him in his show of ignorance. And you can see him look up and she don't know what Keith just read.
Trustee Norwood.
Aye.
Trustee Stan Brown. Trustee Stan Brown. Stan, we are approving the AP warrant list with the exceptions of the items removed by Trustee House.
Now, why was the clerk the one that said that? Usually it's Tiffany Henyard that say it and tell him get it together and shit. She ain't had nothing to say. She thought it was funny.
Stan, we are approving the AP warrant list with the exceptions of the item.
I'm gonna need y'all to stop laughing when this kind of dumb shit happens. That's why they laughing at y'all.
It's removed by Trustee House.
Look, she just explained to him what they doing and he still don't know how to vote.
What you doing, Trustee?
I'm saying no.
All right. Go ahead.
Trustee Tammy Brown. Aye. Trustee House.
Look,
Aye.
Trustee Holmes.
Nelson.
look at that. They all know this man is a fucking fool. Keith Freeman is aware that this man is a fucking fool in this position that he's in. I don't even know if he has any reason to be a trustee, period.
No.
Trustee Belcher.
Aye.
Motion passed.
All right.
And now you see why Andrew Holmes always votes in the mayor's favor. Because she holds his balls in her hand. She's been holding information for months. 6 months ago, the complaint was filed against Andrew Holmes and Tiffany Henyard. 6 months ago. Now you see, this was the meeting right after he raped that girl. The meeting right after. And you gonna see him continue to vote on her behalf, in her favor. She can pull his bail like a cow from this moment forward.
Saying that was it for you on bills?
Yeah, that was it.
All right.
That was the end of my report.
All right, moving forward. Next on the agenda is old business. Is there a motion to terminate the contract of Oderson, Starks, Murphy, Frazier, and McGrath, LTD, as legislative counsel? Is there a motion?
I motion to that.
Is there a second?
Now, here's my issue with this. Number one, things are not being put on the agenda that the trustees are asking to be put on the agenda. Very important things, secondly, are being placed at the end of the agenda instead of being put in the right place. This old business section, I've always hated it. Every time I've sat through one of these meetings, I hated the old business section because it just seemed like the place for people to put their trash that nobody wanted to talk about. And we gonna go back over this shit because you can't get your way? Like, that's always how I've received this section from the time I was a very small child and sat in the back room teaching myself how to braid my hair when I listened to my parents in these meetings. The old business section just felt like old business to me. And that's exactly what she's using it for. I wish the Robert's Rules of Order would take it out. It's 2024. Why are we still talking about the same shit that's been on the agenda since 2021? Literally, there has to be a limit. There has to be a term limit on old business, okay? But that's what she's doing. She's filling up the agenda with bullshit. And then at the very end of the meeting are three very important things that she wants the trustees to hurry up and vote on because they're probably going to be exhausted and say what she wants them to say. And that's how they move. That's what they do to you.
I'll second.
It's been motion and second. Any discussion? No? Y'all got nothing to say? No? Y'all got a lot to say about bills? No? Nobody? All right. I put this on the agenda as always as it relates to their legislative counsel, the attorney that they have. The attorney, like I said before, when he convinced them that they can recall your mayor, is at basically $1 million that we owe him that we're not going to pay because government is not set up where they can just keep suing people because they mad or don't get their way. It's like a kid having a tantrum, but they're using your money, your tax dollars. They're not saying that though, right? They're using your tax dollars to pay this attorney. He keeps suing us. He keeps going to court. He keeps trying to make us give him the money, everything under the sun. But yet you want to give somebody $32,000. $32,000. We had an attorney representing us for FOIA cases, for different situations. Why? Because it's not beneficial to them, but it's beneficial to the people to protect y'all, right? But they said no to that, but y'all keep saying yes to this attorney that they no longer need. I don't understand why they doing this wasteful spending. And they keep talking about things budgeted for. That's one item for a fact that was not budgeted for. Was it finance director? Thank you. It was never budgeted for, but they found $1 million to try to pay this attorney, right? So that's what I'm saying. People like to talk, but they don't want to give you the facts of things. They're not winning anything. They keep losing everything, but it's still at the expense of you guys. So we don't have to keep on going back and forth, back and forth. But why are we going back and forth? At the end of the day, I'm going to keep developing doubt. But at the same time, wasteful spending is being done. And it's not from your mate sitting here. It's from your board of trustees, the fantastic four. That's who wastes your money. Because ever since they put things on the agenda, it's not for you. Pay attention. All I can do is guide you to see what we see. That's it. So I recognize your motion in your second. Please call the roll.
Trustee Norwood.
No.
Trustee Stan Brown.
Yes.
Trustee Tammy Brown.
No.
Trustee House.
No.
Trustee Holmes.
Yes.
Trustee Belcher.
No.
Yep.
Motion
Continue to pay
failed.
somebody to do nothing. But
Excuse
take
me.
our money.
Excuse me. My apologies.
Okay,
I have
you're
to
not-
leave. My mother is being sent home from the hospital via ambulance. I have to leave. So good night, everyone. My apologies.
All right. Next on the agenda is new business. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 23 amending Title 1, Chapter 4, Section 10-1 and 10-2 to increase the grass and weed fees? Is there a motion?
A motion to accept as read.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's been a motion and second. Any discussion?
May I be recognized?
Sure, go ahead.
May I be recognized?
Go ahead.
Is it a way for sake of time that these items can be bundled A, B, C, and D? And the reason I'm asking for bundling is because it should have went to a committee of the whole or to a committee before us to vote on it tonight. So I'm just asking in reference to us possibly having this at committee of the whole to discuss some of the fees, because I actually did pull up the ordinance in 2021. We just raised these fees, ordinance number 21-005. So I would just like to know what would be the difference. And I looked at the agenda also. So just for the sake of time, can it go to a committee or a committee of the whole?
Where at this time we can't go to a committee of the whole. We have to do something because the grass is ridiculous throughout the community. I don't know if you guys are driving around.
So all of a sudden it's an emergency. We gotta raise these ticket prices because it's an emergency. Now the committee of the whole meeting would be in 2 weeks. Okay? 2 weeks, 14 days. But she is so hell-bent on not having a committee of the whole meeting because that's where all the financials are laid bare. That's what Keith Freeman just read. That's where all the financials are laid bare. And she's so hell-bent on not having that conversation that she wants to rush them into voting to raise this particular ticket, which I personally am in favor of this particular raising of the ticket, which everybody probably is, but they don't want to be pressured to do it all of a sudden.
And what we see, again, the complaints we're getting. So
now, mind you, the question that Trustee Kiana Belcher asked is, can we postpone this until a committee of the whole meeting, or can we bundle all three of these items into one vote? That was her question.
Have to have them accountable for it.
So why are we not enforcing?
You asked me it, so I'm trying to tell you.
I didn't ask you anything. I was just asking. I asked you to bundle the things, but if we have an ordinance in place,
nobody wants to listen. Can I get my comment out? Did I interrupt you?
Sure, you can get your comment out. We've been here all night.
So anyway, as I was saying, the grass is ridiculous. We need to do something about it. The fines that we're charging is not.
At this point, they had been there for 3 hours and 27 minutes. And keep in mind, Tiffany Henyard starts her meetings 20 minutes late. Keep that in mind.
Enough. These are vacant homes. This is not residents. These are vacant homes that they live next door to. So we want to increase it from, what is it? Since you know that thing, what's the amount? Know the amount?
You're trying to increase it from $100 to $250, Mayor. Don't talk to me like I'm.
No, I'm not. That's how I know you ain't got it right. I'm trying to increase it to $500.
You sent a list of all of the fees, Mayor. Since you always trying to downplay something, all I did was ask a question. Stop talking to me like I am your child. I asked the question. I am entitled to ask the question. That's why it's called discussion.
Okay,
please
practice
stop.
what you preach, Trustee.
So instead of saying, you know what, I apologize, I lost my temper, I stepped into my flesh, I stepped outside my character, let me get myself back together so I can talk to you correctly. She said, practice what you preach. Whew. I'm telling you, there are some people who never should have been in leadership. I'm trying to understand where the endorsements came from, where the support came from. She got less votes as mayor than all the people who ran with her as trustee, even the ones who lost. I don't want us to fall into this ghetto trap again of familiarity. Y'all ever heard in the Bible they talk about them familiar spirits? That's why they told you not to talk to your ancestors, wasn't it? They said you don't want to talk to grandma after she died because it might actually be a familiar spirit that comes looking like grandma, but is actually there to do some harm to you. Well, how come we don't have that same logic in Black America? Hood and black are not the same thing. Ghetto and black are not the same thing. Ratchet and black are not the same thing. Why do we keep saying that I don't relate to that bitch. I could not sit down and have a conversation with Tiffany Henyard without scooting in my chair like a Iyanla Vanzant be doing when she trying to keep her analysis to herself. She don't represent me. Why do we keep allowing what's black to be this? Why do we trust this as what's black? Listen to how this woman engages on a professional level in a legal meeting. Since you know everything, people don't even talk to their kids like that. Could you imagine being on her staff on a daily basis? I can only imagine the dumbass shit the police officers done heard her say.
So I answered your question when you asked me a question. Then you tried
and
to
you had
cut
to
me
make
off.
another comment.
So
Just either you
stop.
can do it or you can't do
anyway,
it.
for clarity, point of order. Thank you. For clarity.
Okay, Eric.
I am trying to increase the vacant properties as it relates to the tickets that our code enforcement writes. Right now, the amounts are too low. We're writing a lot of tickets. So in order to get the revenue for the village, because remember, y'all keep saying deficit, but y'all ain't coming up with ways to get money, right? So just to get money for...
So is there a deficit or isn't there? Because at the top of the meeting, she said there was no deficit. But now she said, y'all keep talking about deficit, but you're not thinking about ways to come up with money. But she's saying she coming up with money. Well, what you coming up with money for if there's no deficit, Tiffany? In June of 2023?
Village, instead of $100 or $150, I want to charge $500. And it's for vacant.
But why does she feel the need to even argue this point? That wasn't the question. The question wasn't whether or not it should happen. The question was whether or not there is a more convenient way to have the conversation for all involved, not just the narcissist sadist who likes to drain people's energy and force them to do what she wants them to do.
Property. That means it goes to the bank or it goes to whoever left the house there. We put a lien against the property. That is what we're trying to accomplish here. Because right now, $100 ain't getting. So that is what I'm asking for the board support on.
Okay, Mayor, if I could be recognized.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to get clarity. Trustee Belcher's question was about combining the 4 items. Is that possible that we can do that?
I mean, damn.
With regard solely to the process, as these are code amendments, they need a separate roll call vote. If you want to vote no or table that, you would have to do it separately on each one because they're listed in their code amendments.
Thank you.
All right. Any more questions?
How come Tiffany Henyard couldn't answer that damn question on her own, Mike Delgado?
So yeah, there is. So attorney, based on what you just said, if we want to table it, are you saying that we set a motion to table it, or are you saying we just have to vote on it at the moment? And I'm asking that because again, it is getting kind of late. I know we've been using a lot of the residents' time. We haven't been able to discuss any of these 3 or 4 things, and it is getting at this point.
Watch how she gaslight these people. I remember, and I'm not even gonna hold you. I remember when my daddy used to preach, and my mom would give him the hint that he'd been preaching too long, and he would dig in and preach even longer. He was like, y'all gonna sit here and listen to me preach. Oh my God, how do you treat people like that? These people have been at work all day, rushed to get to this meeting, only to sit here for 20 minutes and wait for you to start. Sat through a whole swearing in ceremony with Andrew Holmes shuffling around with his cringy ass, his rapist ass. Had to see Lacey's backside while he accidentally almost pinned that man to death. And then sat through they participated in citizens' address. Sat through the whole meeting. It is 3 hours and 29 minutes since filming began. Okay? You ain't gave them folks a potty break. You ain't got biscuits. Well, you probably make them pay for it if you did. Never mind. And you sitting here and gonna gaslight these trustees and the residents about the amount of time and energy that you're taking from them after they've sat through arguments and bickering and hostility and insults. That is draining for a normal person. People aren't used to sitting up watching fights happen back to back to back to back. even a television show only is an hour. Nobody likes for 3 hours to sit up and watch the bullshit that has taken place in this one meeting. And because you've gained so much energy from it, you don't care that you're draining people. That fuels you even more.
I want to make a right decision, but I don't want to make it tired. And I would like for when we do have this discussion regarding increasing the residents' fees or increasing whoever's fees, that we have this with the community at a different time, these items, so we can have time to ask questions and go over these things.
Why do we get to board meetings and y'all play that I don't want to be tired? Y'all job is to govern. What is wrong with y'all? When you get here, you have to make a decision on a package that y'all didn't had over the entire weekend. So, Trustee Norwood, if you had a question, you could have called any department head. You could have called Keith. Hold on. Y'all got that real bad. Let me finish. You could have called Keith Freeman. You could have called me. Y'all talking to Trustee Brown. You could have asked him. You could have got all your questions answered before we get here. Every time it's time to take action, you guys pause. For what? This has nothing to do with the residents. This has to do with the tickets, the jobs that Kim Code Enforcement is doing to get revenue for the village, because we have to send somebody out there to cut the grass. Who gonna pay for it? So then when they come out of our budget and you guys saying, oh, you guys just spend it. What do we do when they complain if you got nobody going after the money? So you want me to hire somebody to go after the money for $100, and I can go after somebody for the money for $500. So why can't we make decisions? Why, when it's time for you guys to actually do what y'all supposed to do, which is legislate, you guys always want to say, can we do it another time? When? We don't talk.
Now, you'll remember that I said she wastes time during the meeting with this old business shit and then puts very important things, which no one disagrees that this is important. She puts important things at the end of the meeting and then gaslights everybody in the room to think they don't have what it takes to be in the room with her because they want to go home.
We don't meet. We don't do any of that. So how y'all got to lie to the public about another time? Because another time never comes until it's a board meeting.
That's because
so
she keeps canceling the committee. Come on, Mr. Lee, say it with me. Of the whole meeting. That's why.
With the mess, I'm just asking you guys to support because we're writing the tickets. Literally, we write tickets every day. Tomorrow we write tickets. So tomorrow I want to be able to write a ticket for $500 on all our vacant property. $500, not $100. $500 tomorrow. If you guys table it, you guys know we don't have no more meetings until the end of July because it's our summer.
And that's exactly what she planned to do. She literally planned to go out tomorrow and increase all the tickets that were currently pending to $500 without warning, without notice, without hearing, without conversation, without appeal, without discussion. She wasn't even planning for that ordinance to begin at a later date and say, July 1st or September 1st. Just so you know, this rate is going to go up. She wasn't planning for that to be the case. She was planning to be able to go out tomorrow with her 4 police officers in tow and be able to write larger tickets with Kim while they snort cocaine in the back of the Tahoe. Allegedly.
Remember? Y'all voted on that. So it's no more meetings. So I'm asking again for your support so that we can raise revenue for the village.
May I be recognized?
Go ahead.
If it was that important, we would have had a meeting for the committee of the whole last month.
Thank you.
Here we go. If it was that important, I brought it up to y'all. And if you really cared, you should have brought it up. I'm the mayor. You are the trustee. You supposed to write ordinances. You.
Who is clapping?
I always got something smart to say, but ain't.
Now, we saw the last meeting. All them folks clapping were not there. I think people stopped taking Tiffany Henyard's phone calls. I literally do. Because that room was 100% in opposition of her and her administration. There was no clapping like that. Well, there was a couple dumbasses clapping. Never.
On your job. Do your job, trustee.
Mayor, can I be recognized?
Go ahead.
I just say, board, I'm begging of you to, this number one item right here, it needs to go through expeditiously because that's a job that I deal with on a daily basis.
I was gonna say, Stan Brown got his hands in the pocket. I knew it. Okay. If we don't see who's getting the kickbacks, getting the money, skimming from the top, or whatever, why would Stan Brown open his mouth and say he don't even talk about the finances? And he's the finance chair. But here we are talking about raising a ticket price that could be effective as soon as tomorrow, which means he could have access to even more money. And he's begging of you.
We cut grass through.
Baby.
I'm begging of you to this number one item right here. It needs to go through expeditiously because that's a job that I deal with on a daily basis. We cut grass through 17 municipalities for seniors over the age of 60, and it's rough out there. I just so happened to went to a resident today, and vacant homes is bad. It's bad, and a lot of residents are complaining about the vacant houses next to them.
Wait a minute. One thing he said ain't got nothing to do with the other thing he said. He said he works with a group that cuts grass for senior citizens throughout the township, 17 municipalities, which I don't understand how they're municipalities if there's a township that governs them. I don't understand that. Maybe I don't understand their connection to the township. But he helps cut grass for seniors. Now, this motion that Trustee Kiana Belcher is asking if it can either be bundled into one or held off for discussion until the committee of the whole meeting, which we know Tiffany Henyard is going to cancel. But that's an ordinance. Okay? This is about vacant houses. It ain't got nothing to do with the seniors who get their grass cut by Stan Brown's son. It ain't got nothing to do with it. He just talking. He must have done something. I'm starting to think she got his balls in her back pocket because he done got caught up with something too. I'm starting to wonder, Stan Brown.
Age of 60.
We know you.
And it's rough out there. I just so happened to went to a resident today, and vacant homes is bad. It's bad, and a lot of residents are complaining about the vacant houses next to them. The grass is real high. Actually, I went and walked in the grass.
He's stupid.
Little mice ran on my leg.
I mean, why the fuck did you go walking in the
And she was
grass,
complaining
man?
about, you got to get rid of these.
Who in their right mind is gonna go walking through some grass, some vacant lot? Who does that? Ain't you there to cut the grass of the senior citizen? Why are you trespassing on somebody else's property enough that a mouse runs up your leg? Because wherever you are is somewhere don't nobody go if a mouse ran up your leg. Okay? Stan Brown, you kissing ass for no reason. And you about to be in handcuffs too.
Mices. How do you get rid of mices in a yard?
What the fuck is the
That's
mices?
a tough thing.
Ooh. Mice? I had to check myself. That nigga got me thinking like Meech. Listen. Mice, right? Mice. Amanda MBS, help me out. Mices ain't right. Did that nigga say mices? Y'all, we gotta raise our standard for who represents us in government, y'all. What is relatable can't be this. It can't be this. Come on, y'all.
Age of 60, and it's rough out there. I just so happened to went to a resident today, and vacant homes is bad. It's bad, and a lot of residents are complaining about the vacant houses next to them. The grass is real high. Actually, I went and walked in the grass. Little mice ran on my leg.
He said it right.
And she was complaining about, you got to get rid of these mices. How do you get rid of mices in a yard?
Oh shit.
That's a tough thing. It's a bad situation. I'm dealing with that every day. this grass needs to be addressed because I say there was a fine.
Now, we do realize that the conversation is about bundling this situation into one vote or pushing the conversation off for the committee of the whole. And when it does get discussed, it's about raising a ticket price. They be all over the place.
On the railroad right here, if you go down to Indiana,
oh, Lord.
It was terrible. The fees were raised. Now you can stand at 144th in Indiana and look all the way over in Public Works. It was a time you couldn't do that. And it looks good going down Indiana now, all the way to Sibley. I'm asking you, team, because we all under construction right now here. We do need to push this through, seriously. So people will pay attention, because people are not paying attention to all this long grass, and the grass is growing. It's growing. And it's tough on the young people that cut grass for me.
Lord. Not the young people.
They had to cut lawns 2 and 3 times.
Oh, Lord, not the young people, Jesus. The young people are suffering. Now they done had this conversation for at least the last 10 minutes. And all the lady asked was, can we either bundle it or can we move this to a committee of the whole meeting? And they still haven't answered the question. The attorney said, yeah, you can.
Just to get it down in order. It's not a 1 cut, not a 2 cut. They cut in 3 times. And hopefully the pay will catch up with the work that they actually do out there. So I just ask, could we possibly pull together on this and push this through so we can kind of make people pay more attention to this tall grass, because it's not being dealt with, and it needs to be dealt with. So sometimes that dollar tab make people pay a little more attention to what's going on.
This conversation.
So I throw myself on the mercy of the board. Can we get that through?
Not the mercy.
May I be recognized?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. Is this ordinance strictly for vacant homes, or is it for homeowners as well?
We're doing the fee strictly for the vacant property. It don't attach to the residents.
That doesn't make sense.
Because vacant home is costing too much time to cut that grass. Most of your homes, their grass not as tall as the vacants. The vacants is terrible.
People in their houses let their houses get raggedy too.
And we're talking about banks. You know, let's get our money from these banks. These banks buying these vacant homes, they're just sitting there and no one's up in there. So I just ask, let's tackle these vacant homes. Big problem.
Shut up, Stan.
Any more discussion? Okay. All right. No, that's right. Yeah, I'll second that. Okay, clerk, can you call the roll, please? So it's a motion on the floor to approve cutting the grass. We're increasing the fee to $500 for vacant.
She's just not going.
Trustee Norwood.
No.
Trustee Stan Brown.
Yes.
Trustee, well, Tammy's gone. Trustee House.
No.
Trustee Holmes.
Yes.
Trustee Belcher.
No.
Okay.
Motion failed.
All right, well, there y'all have it. As you can see, anything that we put up, it's always get shut down. People.
So you see what she does. She waits until the very end of the meeting to try to bully these people into a conversation with no real at-length thorough discussion, and then when they vote against it because they haven't been given the right information and given the right time to have the conversation in the right forum, she tells the residents it's their fault. They hate y'all. They're just a mean mom and dad who don't want y'all to have no fun.
Talking about kumbaya, ain't no kumbaya. This is where we at, guys. But I'm gonna keep on showing y'all who for y'all and who not. So next on the agenda, can I have a motion to approve ordinance number?
So is she saying in that very meeting on June 5th, 2023, that because Andrew Holmes voted for this, that he's for the people of Dolton, but he drugging and raping residents of Dolton? Is that what you saying, Tiffany Henyard, that Andrew Holmes is for y'all? But just not even 10 days ago, he raped and drugged a woman who called him uncle. Who is he for?
23 regulating utility connection in service in the village of Dolton, state of Illinois. Basically, I'm gonna give you an overview of this. It was myself, Trustee Holmes.
I'm gonna let y'all go with this one because she did the same thing to me that she does to them. Wait to the very end of the meeting and then start talking about important shit. But I've reviewed it already. Everything forward is pretty much standard. She continues with the meeting for about another 20 minutes. After starting 20 minutes late and railroading people for 4 hours. Lord, these poor people. I can't wait till they get free. Anyway, that's all I got. Ain't got no more. I holla.